No, we gotta flip it.
Hey guys.
Okay.
Now there you go. All right. All right. Man, I appreciate all y'all coming out on Saturday. We should be doing a whole bunch of other stuff. So it sounds like everybody's here local, right? Here in local Alabama. Neely Henry is homework for everybody.
A couple of them are Logan Martin.
Logan Martin. I like Logan.
Wise.
We got some good Wise.
Wise Lake, sorry. Right. You ain't far from me then. I fished like Wise twice and I live 40 minutes from it.
We live 5 minutes from it. Probably fish it less than anywhere else.
I like it all over you.
Well,
Yeah,
I'll introduce myself for you guys that don't know me. I'm Brian Latimer. I'm from Belton, South Carolina. For you guys, probably nobody's ever going to know what Belton is or been there or anything like that. It's just a small town close to Lake Hartwell. That's all you need to know. You're probably never going to have to go there unless you come to my house or something like that. There's just no reason for you to go there. But Lake Hartwell's home. A little background: I grew up fishing and just kind of fished all through school, high school, so forth. And my pops was a tournament fisherman. That's kind of how I got involved in the tournament world. And after I graduated high school, went to tech school, fished all the way through tech. Back then, they didn't have college fishing, so I went to tech so I could fish and didn't have to leave my boat or anything like that. And started fishing BFLs when I was in going to tech, and fished BFLs all the way up until about 2011. From 2004 to 2011, fished BFLs. Fished a few Everstarts, AAA division. You guys are familiar with Coastal Division, Everstart, stuff like that. I fished that 5 or 6 years. And then 2 years ago, started fishing FLW. So do that. And then I just recently started doing YouTube, stuff like that. So if you guys are interested in just crazy, weird fishing trips, or sometime I'll vlog every couple weeks. You know, if we're doing something cool, I'll vlog. If we're not, I don't. So do that too. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, I just like catching fish. Any way I can catch fish. That's it.
Dang right. My name is Gene Jensen. I accidentally became a guy named Flukemaster. Completely accidental, but how old am I? 43 now, almost 44? Gosh dang, I'm old. I make YouTube videos for a living, believe it or not, which is crazy. Crazy that it's become that. But I started when YouTube was about a year old. I realized that Bill Dance wasn't teaching people how to fish anymore, and nobody else was either. And I had the time because I worked 40 hours on the weekend from Friday night to Monday morning at a trauma center in Augusta, Georgia. I was an X-ray tech for 20 years. Got 4 kids, a wonderful wife, 3 boys, a little girl who thinks she's in charge. And she is most of the time, unless she doesn't like mean daddy, and I tell her don't be a bad Jew, you won't see mean dad. But yeah, it's all I ever wanted to do from the time I decided I was going to start making instructional videos. All I ever wanted to do was teach people how to fish. I would do it for free if my wife would let me. And so I did it for free for a long time.
Yeah, I know that's how it works.
Yep. Exactly, you know, and yes, JJ's magic. I worked for free for him for 7 years because he needed somebody to work his social media, and he needed somebody to help him stay in business. And I saved his business by working for free for 7 years. And now I just get $50 a month from him. Right. But it is what it is. That's just me. I've got a God-given talent to teach. I'm an okay fisherman. I'm not the big crazy fisherman in the world. Ask James. I can find them, catch them, but I just can't catch them like you guys can find the big ones. I don't mind if they're 12 inches. I mean, I just need to catch something.
I tournament fish because I like fishing, and that's how I express how I like fishing in tournaments. I would never sit up here and tell y'all, you need to do it. I'm doing Johnny just a bag or something. I would never ever do that. I think fishing is the coolest thing in the world. That's why I do it. So,
The way I look at it is those bass are in charge.
Yes.
And you can be the baddest son of a gun 1 in 10,000 days.
Right.
You know, they'll let you have
Anybody
it.
can win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
Well,
is the cool part about it.
Yep. Well, one of the things we talked, we were going to do this separate, and we were talking about we fished. I fished this lake yesterday, and I fished it one day before yesterday, this spring.
I heard you caught one.
I caught one yesterday. We caught 4 today, and hooked 2 or 3 more. But yeah, this lake has not been nice to get off this one.
It's August.
Yeah, it's August. It's when I want to just strangle myself to go crawl the hole. You know?
August.
But they still have to eat, right?
Right, they still have to eat.
They have to eat when you're there.
They don't eat when you're there. And the reason that fishing is fun, you know, earlier this week you said they were catching them really good. You know why they weren't catching them good yesterday and today? No, water's falling. Waterfall fell 4.5, 5 inches over the last day and a half. Those fish pulled out of the grass. They were on that first drop coming out of the grass. That's where we caught them, and we didn't feel any of the bites, so they weren't crazy. They were just getting out of that grass because it was real shallow. And the full moon doesn't help any, but that's, if you look up on the seawalls, you'll see that yesterday there was about this much water up on the seawalls above the water line. And so that water was falling. And because you guys had so much rain, this water was above full pool, so they're bringing it back down to full pool is what I'm guessing. I haven't checked any of the records.
It does.
Yep.
Varies a lot.
So what bass do when they're up in the shallows where you guys have been whacking them in the grass is they pull out to that first drop until they don't feel safe anymore, and then they pull out to the brush piles till they don't feel safe anymore, and then they're out in the middle of the dang river channel and you got to really fish for them. But it was crazy. But Brian and I talked about it. We decided we wanted to jointly give you guys the most amazing dock fishing seminar that we can give you. He's an expert in floating docks, and I'm pretty dang good with the dang coast docks. So we're going to talk about little tricks, little things we look for, ways to catch. I suck at floating docks, and I fished Clark Seal for 15 years. I just avoided them because I did not have any confidence in them. There was like one day I caught more than 3 underneath the dock. The rest of them was offshore in the grass.
Y'all have electric float docks?
Smith, we fished Smith like a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Smith has-
Smith, just like home. I fished there this year for the first time. So it is a lot. You like Smith. We'll be able to relate. Because I know the guys that's here, they're like, what are you talking about? It is. I think Smith is a little bit, the contour is a little bit stiffer.
A little?
Yeah, it's pretty steep. When I was there, it was flooded.
Oh, okay.
Contour is a little steeper at Smith, and a lot more bluffs, a lot more rock. Our lake's a little flatter than Smith, but the fish still somewhat act the same. At least about one time I was doing somewhat the same. So, Gene, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start off with it. The first thing when I first did my first dock fishing video, I kind of laid out an outline in my head. And what I always talk about first is I talk about what to look for in a dock when you're just cruising along island, okay? So some of the things you look for, those docks can give you clues. I like old docks. The older, the more rattier, the better. All that algae and stuff, everything's grown on that timber and on that wood and under those floats even. And the bait fish come and eat that. And when the bait fish come, the bigger fish come. And it's always something good to look for. But one of the main things I look for is rod holders on boat docks. Except for this stinking lake. Does anybody put brush piles out in this stinking lake? Oh yeah. I stand for 2 hours yesterday on the best point on this whole lake. Gorgeous point, came out to 12 foot deep, was 250 yards long, river channel on this side swinging right up against it. Bass all over the outside edge suspended. I'm like, there's a brush pile somewhere.
Probably too much current. Is it easy to sink on here? Very much.
I'd throw a BW bud. Like I said, I'd take a Volkswagen bug and jump in there tight.
Then it's a river, so I would imagine the biggest population is shallow. Probably 5 foot or less. I would imagine. I don't know. Is that the case?
But I'm always looking for the brush piles because 9 times out of 10, when they spend the time to put rod holders out there, they put brush piles out so they can catch fish. And so I'm always looking for that. And so if I see that, I don't even scan it. I'll just go and make a couple of flips with a shaky head or a jig or something out front until I feel a brush pile, or even an old one. I'll take a log from an old brush pile, and there'll be fish on it, especially spotted bass. They love to get out and they'll suspend up above those trees, and you jerk a jig up out of the brush pile, and they're sitting up there, and it's in their face, they're gonna bite it. But, other things, gosh, the more shade a boat dock has, the better. And so if you got a big giant boat dock, that's like when you go into marinas, they're so good, they always hold fast because there's so much shade, and they can easily go deep to shallow. So this time of the year, what do you look for? What are the best boat docks for you to fish this time of the year?
This time of the year, I like very shallow ones. Very shallow ones. I always think, like he was talking about with, the whole reason they're using a dock is shade. They feel protected. Especially, it's always species specific, but in particular with largemouth, they like to feel protected. They like to jump out and say boo. You know, like they love to be like police officers, highway patrolmen. They like to hide behind things, jump out, and just scare the crap out of everything. Well, you know, like spotted bass, smallmouth, they're a little bit more agile and faster swimmers, more sight oriented. So they don't even need a dock. They can just swim around and do whatever. So you catch spotted bass, you catch smallmouth on docks, but really, when you're talking about cover, largemouth is typically going to be a better deal for cover. Not saying you don't catch those species on docks, but usually largemouth is a better tactic.
Yeah.
When you got those floating docks where I can see the bottom, I love it. You can see the bottom. And what happens is, he just feels more protected. It's almost like me taking a blanket, and if I hold it 5 foot from you, you don't get any protection, you don't get any warmer, you don't feel good. It's anybody like me, it could be 80 degrees, and if you told me I had to take a nap, like you could be covered up, it's the same way with the bass. He just feels so protected under a dock. And when you got one that's really shallow, he's just hid so well under there. So never discount really shallow docks. If you can see the bottom, they'll lay just right up under those floats that you see. Even if you can see the bottom, you swear you say, well, if he's there, I can see it. But throw something up there. Always the top water is what's always higher percentage for me. It's typically if you're floating. Most of the places that I fish where there's float docks is clear water. So poplars, morning toads, I throw a hollow body frog a lot at home because it represents a lot of different things. So I'll look for this time of the year, extremely shallow docks because they feel protected. There's always life around it, like you were saying with the algae that sticks to the bottom of the floats on a dock. It brings in brim, all of that stuff, and that's basically what they're after. This time of the year, it's generally brim related. Other times of the year, they just use docks because that's what they use. But this time of the year, they feel comfortable, and they're just chasing brim. So
The only time I ever pull out the deeper docks is when I see schools of shad swimming around docks. When you see those schools of shad, they'll come up and they'll hit a dock and they'll come around the outside. That's when I'm going to fish the deeper ones. And spotted bass will suspend out in front of deeper docks. Yeah, they'll be out off but if you want to win a tournament around here, you know, on largemouth, you're going to do exactly that. Go find the shallow ones, find that heavy, thick cover. But this time of year is tough. You know, what kind of lures are you going to be using this time of year, especially for your floating docks?
yeah, for me, it's pretty much all top water for the most part when we're talking about floating docks. I do flip it, but the whole reason for that is when you're talking about floating docks, people think that fish don't use floating docks. Look like they're not connected to anything. But the primary factor there is you have shade, and you've got some type of forage fish that's there. You also have pontoons around there. You got ropes and cables. Fish. I don't know if you guys sight fish a lot, but and we're not even talking about sight fishing, but bass love to spawn under a stupid cable. I don't know what that's about. I don't know why they do that, but they love the cables that are connected to floating docks. They're spawning right under. But talking about this time of the year, one thing that the fish do a lot is they suspend under docks. So I think that's the disconnect from people who don't like floating docks. They want to flip it up there and let it sink down to a piling or something connected to the bottom. And in all actuality, fish are not on the bottom, they suspend. Most of the time, or 90% of the time when I'm fishing docks, those fish are suspended. If the dock is, you know, the float probably goes in the water 8, 10, 12 inches, and they're directly up under it. most of the time, especially this time of the year. Now, getting in the pre-spawn some of the other times of the year, you'll catch them on the bottom on the docks, like floating docks all the way on the bottom. But typically this time of year, you can't go wrong with the horny toad, can't go wrong with the poplar, olive-bellied frog. You know, there's times of the year where chatterbait is good. A lot of guys like to skip baits around them. I mean, it's really about where the fish are in the water column is going to help you select. Just use some natural. All year in here, fishermen, you got something you got confidence in. It doesn't have to necessarily be the bait that I think is the best. It's just there's certain baits I've got more confidence in, or I feel like I'm more efficient in. Whatever you're good at fishing at around the dock is going to be good. So, you know, for some people that might be a jig. For me, it might be a wacky head. For this guy, it might be a shaky head. For this, the next guy, it might be a poplar, whatever. But the best thing for you to fish around the dock is what gets their attention the best, and it's something that you've got a lot of confidence in and you're real effective at casting, because it can be aggravating.
One of the smartest things that I think I've ever done is I started it was summertime fishing. I wasn't catching squat, just a tough day of fishing. I literally would go to a dock, grab a 1/4 ounce jig, and start skipping and practice skipping dock. Didn't care about catching fish. I would sit there on that dock and I would skip it for hours and just practice. And I got really good at skipping docks, and it's helped tremendously. You can always, especially when the fishing's tough, you can always find something to bide your time. I used to go pull up on a couple of spots on Clark's Hill and go look at arrowheads. I mean, that's one of my other pastimes. But now I just go, you know, I go practice something. And you really, Brian is sponsored by Z-Man, but I'm gonna put a plug in for them. If you guys really want to feel like an expert at skipping docks, go get you some of those Z-Man pop shads. And go skip. You can get them all the way to the back of the dang dock. And then you just sit there with your eyes closed and do this number and wait for the explosion. You know, I did that on Oconee all the time, skipping way up on these docks. But sometimes I hit, sometimes I don't. But the biggest thing is figure out how to get your bait up under there further than the other guy can. And especially in the summertime, because they tuck. I hooked into one yesterday, the one I didn't catch, up underneath the dock as far back as I could skip it in super shallow water on a main lake point. And good fish, set the hook, and my braid pulled through the mustad hook, and I got my knot back. And that was about it. So,
one thing you said about skipping docks that is really key. You guys like to skip docks? It's okay. If you don't like it, if it's aggravating, like, it's cool. Like, don't be bashful about it. One thing he said that you really got to get is spending the time with it. I know a lot of people say, well, I can't skip docks. I always hit the dock. Well, I do too. Like, I hit the dock too. Like, you're going to hit, like, you're going to hit the dock. Don't feel like if you hit it, then, well, crap, I can't skip docks, or I shouldn't be fishing docks, and then we go pull off the point. It's okay. Of course, it's not ideal, but it's okay. One thing that'll help you, for you, especially if you're just starting to get into fishing tight like that, a couple things I think can help you. Start with something that's easy to skip. Start with a freaking stick bait. Don't start off with a 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce jig. That's not easy to skip. Start off with a spinning rod. Don't be bashful about a spinning rod. It's okay. Like, it's okay to use a spinning rod. The world's not going to end if you don't use a spinning rod.
I call you names, but that's about it.
Yeah, they call your names, and then guess what? You told me on more fish than the people that's calling your names. So start off with a spinning rod. Use baits that are easy to skip. So things that are kind of bulky, flat, a little weight to them. Like you said, the pop shads is kind of, number one, it floats, so that's already helping you. It's kind of big and you got a bulky profile, that helps you. So, things that are easy, stick baits are easy, any kind of worms, wacky style. Just start off with that and get used to what makes a bait skip. Get used to what that feels like. And then after you've done that a while, then try to go to a bait caster and learn how to put a bait in places. Maybe start doing it at open water first. Like, just start skipping the underhanging banks or something like that. Maybe don't start off with a dollar. Start on underhanging banks or just wide open water and get used to what it feels like to make the motion, to make the bait do what you want it to do, and then kind of transition into that. But you have to spend time with it. And You're gonna have to spend time with it. You're gonna hang up. You're gonna lose base, and you're gonna hit the dock. So just go ahead and stomach that. That's gonna be a part of it. But don't feel like you can't do it.
And if you're backlashing a lot, do what I do when I'm teaching people how to throw a bait caster. Make a good long cast, take a piece of tape and take your spool up, and then reel that line back over the top of your spool. So when you do backlash, you don't blow your reel up. And you can get it out, and you'll know you're going to backlash. You know you screwed up, but you'll be able to fix it a lot better. Another thing is the selection of rods. You got to have a rod with a lot of tip to it. Not a whole lot of tip, but just some tip. Because you've got to be able to load that thing up and get your nice trajectory. I hate long rods with this style.
It doesn't go.
No, this is a 6 foot 5 inch heavy action rod with a short butt because my belly doesn't get in the way. Alright, so this is one I designed for 13 fishing, but it's my frog rod. It's also really good for walking frogs because it's easier to walk a frog with a short rod than it is a long rod. And I walk frogs all the time. I fish it in cover when there's cover, but I'll fish it around docks and stuff like that. But anyway, you just want one that's got enough tip to load up on that jig or wherever you're skipping. And once it, and it's all about speed and trajectory. Speed and low trajectory to get it up, get it into the water and start skipping. Man, my introduction to skipping docks from a pro was Timmy Horton. When I got on the boat with him during the last day of practice for a classic, and I watched him skip floating docks on Hartwell. No, yeah, they were on Hartwell. My gosh almighty, he could get that thing in a little hole about like this, about 20 feet away, just go pop, and it'd go right straight through that hole on the back of the dock. I'm like, I'll leave. You know, so, but the biggest thing is time on the water practicing, and use something that's got a little bit of flex to it, but got enough backbone. Another trick that I do with wood docks is a lot of times you'll hook into a big one and he'll wrap you around the dock. Or if you've got boat lifts in it, it'll wrap you around the steel in the boat lift almost every time. So this one's not set up that way, but I take 20-pound fluorocarbon and I put about that much leader on it. So about 24 inches of leader on it, of fluorocarbon. And then I have 65-pound braid. And what I do when I hook into a fish and it starts to run out of the wrong side of the dock, I let him run out of the wrong side of the dock, wrap around that wood dock. Wood docks are different than timber. Don't do this in timber because you get them rotted trees and that braid will dig into that timber. But if you've got those wood posts, because they're treated, the braid doesn't tend not to dig into it. So let them come out and fight and get worn out off of your fluorocarbon, and then bring them back around and bring them through. I've done that, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of times, and it works. And a lot of times, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they'll get you wrapped around the dang steel. If the boat lift is in the water, they'll get you wrapped around the steel on the cross member. And that's a pain in the butt. Then you got to go diving or do an old Jeff Creek. Go diving after, go down to your underwear, go fish, go swim. But anyway, that's skipping docks. I mean, it will make a difference. All these guys pitching outside corners and stuff like that is great. I mean, the bass are going to be sitting on. That's where the most active fish are going to be. The ones that are actually feeding them, being on those corners, trying to catch something swimming by. But if you want old big that's already eating that pound-and-a-half bluegill and sitting in the back digesting, you got to get back there in the back and hang out with it. So,
tell me a little bit about setting up on pitching that dock. How far do you like to be from the dock?
That's the best question.
Gosh, yeah.
Because the reason I think it's the best question ever, because most times, FLW tour, we had coaches.
Yeah.
So if you're skipping docks, a lot of times, coach wants to try to skip docks with you, but he doesn't have the angle.
No.
So what I'm getting at, boat position is everything. When you're talking about fishing docks, boat position is everything. The guy in the back doesn't have the same angle you have. These boats can be too close. But to answer the question, you got to kind of figure out what's right for you. Because obviously I'm kind of a short guy. You know, for somebody that's a little taller, maybe he needs a little bit more room. You got to find out what's the best spot for you. That's going to take some time. But for me, you know, I want to say about as far as I'm on that boat behind you guys. So, you know, 20 foot, 25 foot is what I like to stay away. There's a lot of water clarity. If it's muddy water, you know, I can get in there and actually pitch. Like, pitch it up on there. If it's real clear, like where I fish at home, that's why I use a spinning rod. That's why you need to be better with a spinning rod. Stop calling it the little sissy stick. It's not. It's tool. It's like, you call it a spinning rod, a sissy stick is the same thing as a 3/8" wrench, a sissy wrench, and then a freaking 11/16, that's a man wrench. It don't work on a 3/8" bolt. It's the same thing. When you're saying that about spinning rods, you're saying like that. I tell you, if you don't believe me, try to take a whatever your favorite nickel is or flake shade or whatever. Try to throw it on a bait cast and then let me use my spinning rod. Let me know how it works out. It don't work. It don't even work. You can't do it. And when you're skipping, most of the time when you're using a wacky rig or whatever, there's both dollars at home. It's clear water. I got 10-foot visibility, so I can't be 20 foot away from the dock. I don't care how big the dock is or how much shade there is. I got to be 40 foot away from it, a long ways away. I want that fish to see my bait before he hears my boat coming. So you know, if they feel a 4-6 inch piece of plastic coming, he knows when your 20-foot bass boat is easing up on the dock. Like they know. It's not so much you scare him, but he's sitting under the dock and then here you come running the dock and you get his attention. So now, and you see it so good in the spring when they're sitting under the docks, actually, where you can see the fish. You'll see them, they'll be sitting on the dock and you see them just kind of turn and look at you. Like he'll just look at you and you don't want his attention on you. He's not scared, they see boats all the time. It's just very aware in clear water of their surroundings. So you've got to stand back far enough and get your bait to this. You want your bait to be the first thing that catches your attention, not your trolling motor, not the sonar key, not any of that. I don't ever cut my sonar off or anything like that, not that exaggerated. If I'm that scared about the fish catching my attention, I'm just going to try to back out for it. So that's why you need to try to use the spinner rod. So you get your bait farther, longer, further distance away, and you make it accurate for you fish.
So wacky rig is probably the best.
It's the best one. It just works. It works for so many different reasons. Number one, you can put it in places that you can't put other baits. Two, it stays in the strike zone. That's why it works so good, especially in the spring. You skip it on the dock and it's just like, just set. It would be the same thing like if you weren't hungry and then I put a little plate of hors d'oeuvres or candy, right? For me, it'd be candy, like some Sour Patch. Yes, yeah. Just put it right there beside you. You just have to have it. I mean, you just have to have it. So, wacky rig just works at the stage, you skip it, and there's so many different actions you can get out of it. You stick baits a lot, they don't have quite as much action as some of the thinner profile worms. I even got to where I kind of Nico style minnow baits, so like Fluke style baits, they work really well. Nico style dots, and nobody's really doing that yet, or it's not popular. People are doing it. It's not.
What's Nico?
Nico is where you basically, that would be rather. It's almost like wacky rigging. You take it, essentially it is a wacky rig, but a little bit of weight in front of it. So what happens is you get several things going on here. You can have that wacky rig motion, when the bait's hooked in the middle, kind of backstrokes. You can get that, but now I can work that at 25, 30, 50, 15 feet, a little bit more efficient at working the deeper. The other thing is, once it does hit the bottom, I can make the tail of the worm stand up. Like when I impart action on the bait, the tail just kind of stands up and says hello to it. That's one thing. The way it sinks is totally different than a wacky rig. You throw a wacky rig plastic on the dock, it just kind of settles. But with a Nico rig, it kind of, depending on the plastic you use, it kind of spirals a little bit as it sinks. Which is also, I use the same hook. Everybody doesn't. Some people say wacky rig hook, some people say Nico rig hook. I use the same owner, number one mosquito hook for just about everything. But it's very simple. There's nothing complicated about it. Only thing is with wacky rig, I'm gonna dead in the. With a Nico, it's actually I'm gonna hook one and just pass it around so you guys can see it. I usually start at 3/32 ounce. You're just gonna put it in the head of the bait. If you're using Z-Man plastic, what I like to do is take the mid-rig edge and then just snap off the hook point and poke it in your Z-Man plastic. But so you're just gonna put the weight in the head. I've already done that. And what I like to do is number one owner mosquito hook. You're gonna have the point of the hook back towards the tail of the bait. I don't actually hook it really in the middle, sort of like the first third of the bait. So most baits it's gonna be like right at the front part of the egg sac, and just kind of perfect. But it's hooked like that. And if you wanted to get it a little deeper, further towards the front of the bait. If you wanted to sink a little slower, get more towards the middle. But I'll pass this around and y'all can see how I rig the Nico.
And you can see how it's gonna be on the bottom. It's gonna go nose down. Your hook's gonna be kind of weird. For us, it's weird where your hook sits, but that's, you hook it the opposite way, you're gonna lose almost every fish you hook, or that bite.
It's a good fish. I use it a lot on schoolers, especially where I live at home. You know, you probably think, well, schoolers, they're feeding on shad. Why are you throwing brown worm? Because spotted bass are just weird like that. They're weird like that. One of my favorite deals to throw at schooling fish in the fall when they start acting real funky, when they start feeding on those little bitty shad in September and October, and they're schooling and you can't catch them. One is a Ned rig, you know, just a TRD, just throw a cascade down. The other is a Nico.
And it's crazy. The pros, you guys and big guys have been fishing it for about 4 years and sink a lot of tournaments, and people don't talk about it.
It's very frustrating that it's called a Nico and it's kind of famous now. Dude, we've been doing that like probably before I even knew about it. Safety Cooper.
I did
on
it
Low
Fluke
Park Stage.
20 years ago.
I mean, like, the guys used to do it, nobody called it just a weighted trick worm when I was a kid, or people using drywall screws and stuff like that and just make it go under the dock. We've been doing that for a long time, and then all of a sudden the people from West Coast got a hold of it and started using fancy equipment, actual nail weights instead of nails like what we use and drywall screws, and they made it fancy. I'm like, dude, we've been doing that for 15 years. And now it's, yeah.
Like the Dawson Road. Come on, it's a double fluke rig. It's been that way for 100 years. But
It works.
my favorite time of the year to fish docks is definitely spring. It really is. And it's pretty cool being able to follow the spawn by where the bass are positioned on these docks. Pre-spawn, I find them out on the outside corner or suspended or out from the outside corner. When the weather gets bad, they just pull out, and I'll catch all the pre-spawn females on those longer docks out away from it. That spawn moves on and the water warms up, they get onto the inside corners. And if you ever chasing docks, be it floating docks, be it wooden docks, or whatever else, if you ever fishing docks and you spawn, don't ever pass without throwing all the way between the seawall and the gangway. Right there on that outside edge. There's a male sitting right there making a bed, or there's going to be a male and female spawning right there. And then the other one is where the gangway meets the dock. And that's going to be another spot they're going to be. I can't count how many fish I've caught. Nothing on the whole entire dock. Go over, skip a Cinco up underneath that, right up against the bank underneath that dock, and there's a fish sitting right there. Springtime especially. He talked about how they spawn under the cable.
They love it.
I don't understand that either.
They
No.
love it. They love it. You know, when your cable just kind of sags down the water a little bit, that's set right at the lowest part. I don't know.
It makes no sense because typically they're looking for a place that's protected. So they only have to guard 2 or 3 sides of their bed and the other half is protected. Or they're looking for, that perfect hard bottom, but.
I do have some theory behind it, because it's something I think about a lot. Like you were saying, springtime is the best time to be fishing docks, because like you was talking about, you get the first place they go. Well, just to back up a little bit, pre-spawn fish, when the spawning ritual where I live starts, it can start as early as first week in February. It just depends on the year. And you can watch it. The first place they go is front corners of the docks, even floating docks. Front corners, and then they kind of start getting under the pontoons and stuff. And they hang up really high in the water column, because that's where they get the sun, floats. It's like those docks are like huge solar panels. No matter if it's a pier dock or if it's a floating dock, it's just getting heat. So they're trying to get that heat. Other thing is, pre-spawn fish love to be next to something. Because how many times, I know here probably do, because you have stained water, I imagine you guys don't do a lot of sight fishing. So you can do a lot of blind flipping in the spring. There'll be like one piece of stick sitting in that much water, and you flip up there, and it's like, oh. It's like that fish is on bed. They love to be beside anything, just anything. It doesn't have to be much. That's why lily pads are always good. Lily pad stems are good in the spring. That's why isolated wood, lay down, they pre-spawn on that kind of. So I think, I'm just saying all of that to get to the cable thing. Where we live, there's not a lot of stuff on the bank. It's just bread and mud. There's a few stumps here, maybe a little pebble here and there. But I think that cable is just something that they can get next to. It's the only thing I can come up with.
That's different.
It's just different. That's the inconsistency.
It's like throwing an old Coke can. Throw Coke,
They
small
love that.
Coke can, go put it in the water, where you want them to spawn, and they'll be spawning there. That's not what's pretty.
Lawn chairs,
Yep.
all of that goofy stuff, you know. At home, we've got the float docks, so they have to move the docks in and out with the water levels. This year we had high water. The back catwalks where the people that had vacation homes and the catwalks were in the water with the big wheels, that's where I won't say every bass spawned. There was a lot of bass spawning on catwalks that were sunken into the water. They like so it's just another way of approaching docks.
My love is big fishing under dock. I don't care who gets, but I guess that's why I don't like floating docks so much.
Yeah. But they fish them at home.
I know, but I have no confidence in it. You know, like I said, I went on Clark Hill for 15 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's just another hardware.
I think, no doubt, spring of the year is my favorite time for docks, but it's always, they use them all year. I mean, there's just no question about it. From now to fall time of the year, they use them all year. Because it's like a little nursery. Our docks are just like little nurseries. There's always some type of forage around there. It's just like a little fisheries nurseries. There's always something around.
One of the stories that I remember like it was yesterday was fishing Lake Oconee out east of Atlanta. I grew up just east of Atlanta. Lake Oconee is another 30 minutes, 45 minutes away. But it's a post dock lake. It's predominantly largemouth bass, tons and tons of shad. More shad than literally you have to go look for the area that has the most shad, not just look for an area that has shad. Because old shad man would make a killing on this lake. So it's tough to fish because there's so much food. But I found a pattern this one day, and it was a summertime pattern. And they were on the outside corner of boat docks in 8 to 10 feet of water. When you get bit on a dock, look at your fish finder, see how deep you are, because that's going to be a pattern. But it was outside corner, 8 to 10 feet of water. I could call my shot. I knew exactly which docks had. I'd catch one off each corner, and I'd keep on rolling. My big choice was a shaky head trick or with the tail dipped in chartreuse magic. Because it's stained a lot like this. Oconee is almost exactly, at least most of it is. The creek on the other side is super clear. But anyway, so it's a lot like this lake. And so I throw it in, I skip it in, I set the hook. But if I got to a 6-foot dock, there wasn't a fish on it. If I got to an 11-foot dock, there wasn't a fish on it. 8 to 10 feet. So when you get bit, even on a floating dock, look at your depth of your boat, and that's where you want your boat position. I don't care what the depth of the post is, because I can't go up to it, and I'm not going to go up to it and look at it. I'm just going to look down at the fish. I'll say, I'm in 8 feet of water, that might be a foot and a half shallow or whatever else. But as long as my boat's sitting there and I'm flipping in, and you can get a lot closer in these lakes anyway, and I'm flipping in and I'm throwing that shaky in, I'm going to look down at my fish line and say, okay, that might be a pattern. Go find another dock just like it, hammer them. And position is key. If you threw it up and you threw it 2 foot inside the post and you got bit, and then you go and you do it again, what does Ike Nelly say? 1 fish is luck, 2 fish is a pattern. Get your second fish in, right there and set the hook. You're going to be doing that the rest of the day, or at least during that period of time until that window changes.
One thing that I like to get on when you're talking about is you're talking about depth. One thing I watch a lot is not necessarily depth, but I do watch the position the dock is in the creek or lake or river or whatever. I really play, especially in the spring, pay close attention to if they're on creek turn docks, docks on the point, main docks all the way in the back of the pocket. It's the weirdest thing. At home where I live, you would think, all right, in the spring, February, March, you get a couple 50-degree days, you think they come up on the points, right? Whereas, no, they don't. They go straight to the back. They go straight to the, they come from the main lake, go all the way to the very back of the pocket. And why? I mean, think about why. Why do you think that is?
Warming up fast.
Up fastest. Small water column warms up the fastest. So they go all the way to the very back to the pocket and they suspend on the dock. So I'm real conscious. What I love about float docks, they use them pre-spawn, sometimes they spawn around them, and post-spawn. Post-spawn is like another one of the best times for largemouth, because there's no fish that's more manic about the whole spawn cycle than the largemouth. Like it's a long, like I can't say it because it's ladies here, but like they're like ladies, it's like a real manic, long drawn out process for the spawn. So they start in February, getting all the foreplay and all this. They start getting, let me get to the dock. Let's do this. Let's quarter mil. Let's do this. Then they finish spawning. It's like, well, let me hang around for another week or two around the dock, and then I'll go out to the main lake. For spotted bass, smallmouth, there's no transition. They're like, I honestly believe spotted bass hate to spawn. I think they really would rather just eat. Like at home, when all the sight fishing stuff going down, in March and April, spotted bass still out there on brush pile eating shad. And then they come in for like a week or two, drop the eggs and go immediately right back out to the main lake. It's not drawn out and romantic and like a 4-week process like it is at largemouth. But so just remember that, you know, when you're talking about pay close attention to getting bit in the creek when you're fishing docks. You can way in the back. You can guarantee in the spring they're gonna come up from the ones in the back. And you'll watch the progression. As they finish, they'll move to the ones on like going on the inside. Then they'll get out on the points, and then there may be some even on the main lake stretches. Today we caught fish on the main river stretch. Like they're not in the pockets or bays or whatever we call them here. They're out on the main stretches. So just pay attention to species and the position of the docks inside of the creeks.
It amazes me how fast they do move back. I mean, I'm
Very fast.
I don't know if you got, I've got an old video about fishing lipless crankbaits where I'm holding 6 and 7 up for the thumbnail. I mean, just 2 months of fishing. I was nice off the guys 2, 3, 4 days before that day. And it shot up, and it was the end of February. The temperature shot up. And when I get a big warm up like that, where it's just one day, but it's really, really warm, I go straight to the back of the creeks and I work my way out. I don't do what I normally do is start at the halfway back and work. I went straight to the back of the creek. Last bend before a big spawn was a little point that stuck out, and it had either a rock or a log on it. I caught 45 pounds of fish off of that log all throughout the day coming back. All those big females, 7s and 8s and 6s, I'd all come straight down that creek channel, and it was a half a mile to the main lake. Straight down that creek channel and stopped right there. And luck, it was a lot of luck, but I realized, holy cow, they move a lot faster than we think they do. And they move to the warmest water. That spawning flat is about 40 acres. It's a huge spawning flat. So it warms up really fast. Then it flows out into that creek, and that creek warms up really fast. And within 24 hours, it's warm water coming right past that point. Hanging out waiting. That's all they're doing. And if it was a lipless crankbait and a square bill, all I had to do was just hit that log and just hold on tight. And I'd catch 2, and I'd leave for a half hour, 45 minutes, come back and catch a couple more. And I, to this day, in end of March, or end of February, early March, I can go to that one spot and guarantee you 1 over 4 pounds. At least one. They won't be stacked. They've never been stacked like they were that one day, but at least 1 over 4 pounds.
Yeah, I was going to set my cell number.
I've given that spot to like 4 friends for tournaments, and they're all like, dude, that's a magical spot. And it don't look like nothing. It doesn't even look like a point. But I tell them, I said, don't stay on the current side. Get back on the back side of the point, cast into your current, break this way every time. Oh, I'm just Clarkville for that one spot.
Question for both of y'all. In the last 10 years, there's been more and more fish incorporated into the dock everywhere. Oh, and is that further interest by the floating?
In the early spring, those black floating pull-up jet ski ramp or jet ski, where they, yeah, where they jump up on top of them. I love them, yeah. I mean, it don't matter. It's a black one. It's gonna, 9 times out of 10, the jet ski's not on there in the wintertime because they've taken it out and put it up. And those summer guns will be 5-10 degrees.
Just cover, it's just anything that provides protection. I don't care, jet skis.
Well, I know you probably fish it, but if you pulled up one and there's 3 stops and one of them is left there, does that spur any kind of special?
It just depends on the pattern. If I'm looking for super shade, which is what I call when the only place you're catching them is as far deep in a dock as you can get, I'm gonna go to there, because they're usually butted right up against the dock, and so there's a super shade area. Just don't do what I do and pitch it down the holes in the dang thing and then try to get the fish out, because 9 times out of 10 it's a little big, a little bigger than the hole. I'm bad at that.
He was talking about something just a second ago. Do you guys ever think about, he was talking about icing his guys and so forth, and how fast they move? I'm always, I love the spring of the year because there is no better time to be on the water between somewhere in February. I'm sure it's geographically influenced a lot. Somewhere between February and April, because there is no better time where you can see how fish transition better. It's more drastic, it's more exaggerated during those times of year. Do the same thing this time of year, going from now until December as well. But it's something I pay a lot of attention to, and I'm like, my attention of how fish are moving and reacting to weather is I guess, on alert during that time of the year. But one thing that I've watched over and over, you can count on, we get, especially where we live, it can be 20 in ice one day and 70 the next. And I've seen so many times in March and April where it's 70 and then the fish don't push. And so many times when it's 20, 25 degrees at night and 40s and they still push. And it's always, it frustrates me to know why it's like that. Why can some years it be warm and then the fish never go, and then some years it's cold and it's like, well crap, they're already moving. And have you guys ever experienced that before? You're like, where they at? They gotta be here now. Like the spot like Gene's talking about where he may have caught them March 2nd, 5 years ago, and then all of a sudden this year they're not there. It's like, did I miss it? What happened? One thing that I watch literally religiously is photo period. That's what makes fish move more than I put in my mind. I got photo period and I got weather. Photo period is supreme.
So how do you figure out what the photo period is? What?
Just length of day. I think length of day because I've seen so many times when it's cold in the spring. We just say that because that's when it's more exaggerated. Same thing happens in the fall. It can be hot all the way through fall, hot, and then fish still start doing fall time stuff because the days start getting shorter. The day length is everything when you're talking about springtime. You'll see when he was talking about like ice on the guys, and fish still start spinning on the guys, even though it's cold. They know when it's February, they start getting longer all of a sudden. It's time, where's the milk? Where's the dock? So I'm really on the time of the year. They may not move all the way to spawning when we talk about spawning, pre-spawn. A lot of times we think, okay, a fish has a bed and he's spawning. But there's just so many other things that's involved with spawning and actually being on the bed. And a lot of that is revolving around the photo period. How long are the days? How long are the days? You'll notice the days already, it's not getting safe light as it was 2-3 weeks ago. It's dark still as you get up in the morning. For me, it's always sunshine because I get up late. Shut up, Gene. But you'll start to notice that the days, and what happens is the shad start to move. Everything follows deer, wildlife, all that follows photo period. The shad starts to move back in the creeks. So where food goes, where fish goes. So it's like photo period is one of the things, some just, it never changes, it's always the same. Well, of course, you need all of those components, photo period, weather, moon, you need all of that to have the optimal transition. But in my mind, photo period is at the top, because they do things according to the length of day every same since 1906, 1777. It's been the same. The length of day hasn't changed like this.
I agree, 100%.
So pay close attention to that for sure. You need all the components. Everything matters. Everything that we watch matters.
Those magical days are when everything comes together perfectly. The moon, the everything. You don't get those very often.
Not very often. Just once, 2, 3 times a year.
Hey, Brian, talk a little bit about, too, we saw at the Classic Fisher on Hartwell. You watch those guys transition at a certain time of the morning, they started hitting those docks. What are your thoughts on that? What do you see?
It's all because those things are a huge solar panel. There just hadn't been enough daytime heating to get that, to draw up that heat. And then as soon as those docks get warm, every float dock is aluminum awning over the top of it. And then you also have those black floating deals on it. And just as daytime heat gets hotter and hotter, they just kind of, those fish are there the whole time. What they do is a lot of times at night they kind of scoot out in the middle of the pockets. We call them ditches. Don't let that intimidate you when we say they're in the ditches. They're in the cold.
They're in the middle of the pocket.
They're in the pocket. That's what when we say ditches. They're in the ditches. Just a pocket. They slide out in the middle during the night. In the morning they're still in the middle. And then as it gets hot, slide up, get under the docks. And you saw right there in the class, a lot of those guys, they probably have 1, 2 fish in the morning because they're not positioned where you can catch them. A lot of times we're going to slide in the middle. If you get this weird period right before they spawn where they're not actively feeding, they're just like, all day long, they're just like, and you can't catch them until they get under the docks because they're just not aggressive. Earlier in the year, they're in the ditches, but they're aggressive. They're eating. Later in the year, they're in the ditches. They're just as well.
That's the most amazing bite I've ever. One of the most amazing bites I've ever had is when they're in the ditches in the wintertime.
Yeah, they pile up.
And you yo-yo in a. Well, we used to call them. I used to fish the regional ditch fishes, so ditch fish suit buckeye because they're using the name. But anyway, it's a weighted. It's like a weighted. What was the name? What are the little props? The little props underneath it. They're sponsored by Martin. Fish head spin.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a weighted. Okay, it's like a weighted fish head spin is what it is, and you put a little baby fluke on it and you get it down in that ditch and you just jerk it up and let it fall back down. And once you get bit, it's going to be a big female, and you mark your GPS point. You go back to the same spot, get them out of the barrel. They'll all be right there. And then you just, I mean, especially Hartwell, Russell has that bite, and of course he'll have that bite.
I think it's because our blue backs. I think that's why they get in those ditches. And it's just the nature of it.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into teaching people something.
That's oversold too.
Yeah.
I'll be totally honest with you. I fish feed on. Of course, they do make fish do weird stuff. There's no doubt about that. The bulk of their diet is redfish shad. I mean, I'm totally convinced of that.
I fish, if you ever go to a back herring lake, fish it like you would normal lake.
It's
Because
okay.
there's plenty of shad in those lakes, and they're gonna do the same thing. I mean, I fished Clarksville like a shad lake for years because I had to teach it, making videos. But, back to dock fishing, in the fall, a lot of times when I'm on a dock lake, I'll try a dock, and you'll find that there won't be in a lot of the docks out on the main lake. They're already pushing back into the creeks, the shad are back in the backs of the creeks. That's when I tend to shy away from fishing docks. I get out in the back of the flats and skinny water, and if my trolling motor's not kicking up mud, I'm too deep. And I'm throwing a spinner bait, I'm throwing a square bill, I'm throwing a shad wrap, a jointed shad wrap, like we talked about yesterday. Those things away from fishing jointed shad wraps. But throw them in the fall. A crawfish colored jointed shad wrap, watch your arm get ripped off. But that's when you get away from docks, for me at least, because they're more shad oriented, they're more bait fish oriented, and they get away from trying to eat bluegill so much, and they get back to the backs of the creeks and you can just hammer them. So that's the one time I'm not a dock fisherman at all.
definitely do. It's one of those deals where it's not like you can't, but it's probably a bigger population of fish on flats and stuff than there is on docks. And it's all because the number one reason why I said it is because now they go from brim to shad. The shad all of a sudden comes to where it's all about positioning. Now the shad where the fish are. So I'll eat shad. You know, like you take me to McDonald's, I eat McDonald's.
Where's Larry going?
Yeah.
Back in the creek. I wanna go chase Larry because he knows where he's going.
Take me to Chili's, I eat Chili's. You know, it's
That's another thing that I love to talk about a lot, not just dock fishing, but it's finding fish. You know, and it's one of the things, one of my best videos that it's funny, the most popular video I got on my YouTube channel, I can't stand that video because there's so much missing from it. Yeah, I just don't like it, but it's got like 2.5 million views. I mean, it's just, but it's all about finding fish. And the biggest key to bass is what? This boy don't miss a meal. Neither does a bass like to miss a meal. You know, and so he didn't. And I was telling James this today when we were fishing, have bait fish and not have bass, but you will not bass. There's going to be something there. And we didn't start catching them until we start seeing shad and bait and light on the fish finder. Even if you don't have a fish finder, look for an area that has light. Okay, so I'm fishing just up from the boat launch, and I'm not catching a thing this morning, nothing. So I said, you know what? Let's just go for a ride. And we sat down, got on the boat, and started running until I started seeing white birds on the bank. And I started seeing a little bit more. Went a little bit further. Another bird. And then there was this one little flat point that's got grass on it, and there were 3 white birds in that grass. I'm like, stop there, and that's where we caught all our fish. And you start looking around. Another thing we noticed, those white birds were in the water, so they were feeding. That tells me we're at a photo period. And I used to not believe in that lunar table photo period crap, but I just like to fish. There's some keys to it. There's a period of time during the day you're going to catch more fish than you will outside those periods, and it's typically during that photo period. And that took a really good friend of mine 2 years to convince me of that. But that's when the birds are down in the water, they're feeding, the bass are feeding, the shad are up shallow, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff. But we got there, and that's where we started catching fish. But I didn't use my fish finder until I saw those birds. And I slowed down, I started looking, and I said, man, there's a ton of life here. We got carp out here jumping, we got gar running along the edge of the river, and then we got bait fish right along this lip. And I said, okay, there we're at. Just north of Rainbow Landing. Go up and about 2.5 miles north of Rainbow Landing.
It's supposed to be a secret.
So, it's my job. I tell my friends they'll never tell me secrets. It's my job to tell everybody. But anyway, so finding fish is so much more critical than catching. If you can't find them, you ain't gonna catch one. Yep. And one of the biggest questions I ever get on my live deals is, when do you change? Yeah. How many casts or how long do you spend on a point? How long do you spend on an area till you change that moment, or you change something? And it's simple. I've become very aware of when I lose confidence. A lot of people aren't aware of that. I know exactly when I lose confidence in the spot. I know exactly when I lose confidence in the bait I'm fishing, and I change immediately. Where we go wrong is we say, we'll just make a few more casts with this. As soon as you lose that confidence in that bait, throw that son of a gun in the deck of the boat and tie something else on. Or as soon as you lose that confidence in an area, crank up and go. And go find something different. If I'm having the worst day in the world, I do what's called a reset. I sit down in the bottom of my boat, I grab myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I slow down, and I start from the beginning. What's the water color? All right, that tells me about what kind of colors baits I want to use. What's the weather conditions? What's been the last? I go through that whole checklist. What's been going on the last 3 days? I go through that checklist in my head, and I start completely over. And I refuse to pick up anything that's on the deck of my boat. And I go dig in the box, and I start looking for different things. And I start looking at different areas and that kind of stuff. Do a reset, and you may still get the same results, but you didn't shoot the dead horse 3 times. You just kept going. You know?
That's like, if you're not in love with what he just talked about,
Go play golf.
Yeah, like do something else. Like do something else. Because like what he just said is fishing. Let's say, I guess this is okay to say it. I'm gonna say it anyway if it's okay to say it or not. My pet peeve is when somebody reaches out on social and says, I got a tournament here, y'all need tips. No, I don't know. I don't know what you should do.
You know how much time we put into the research to figure out?
Well, like, I think I get frustrated because most of the time, Bradley can attest to this. If we went for like that, I don't know. I do not know how we're going to catch a fish today. Even at home, like I guide sometimes at home, I don't know. We're going to go out and try to figure out what they're doing. We're going to do everything he just said. We're going to start from the beginning. We're going to go to the lake, and we're going to say, oh, the water's 80 today. Or, oh, the water's staying today. Let me use this. Like, that's fishing. It's not a lottery thing. It's not let me listen to Flukemaster and he says, throw this, or let me listen to Brian and he said, skip docks. No, that's not how it works. Like you said, if you're not really in love with resetting and realizing, oh, this is not working, let me try something else that I bought out of the bargain bin. If that's not like keeping you awake at night, probably like golf is probably better. It really is. It really is probably better for you because fishing is just. I think I get tagged with it more because now I fish the tour. Like people think, seem to think you kind of know everything. Maybe you do know more because just simply because spend a little bit more time on the water now. But don't know. Like a lot of stuff, just don't know. You don't know until you start fishing. Like you just don't know.
The biggest difference I've ever seen between me being a weekend angler and now that I'm doing this full time is not just time on the water. We're better at finding.
Yeah.
Because we have set time on the water. We have those methods in which we use to go find the fish. We're not better at catching them.
No, and you're not. You just don't freak out when you just realize that you don't know. Like not knowing, that's the fun part. Like the fact that I don't know that we went somewhere today that I've been in the Inland River before, but it was like when I was 18, 19 years old. And the fact that I had no clue of how you could catch one, and it looked totally different than it did 15, 20 years ago, like that was exciting to me. I was like, man, I wonder what's around the corner. I wonder if they're in this grass. I wonder if they're in docks. Like, ain't that what? Like, is that what we're supposed to be doing? Like,
You're just like driving around and you saying like, that looks good.
that looks good.
Oh,
that's too shallow.
And you know, you guys, a lot of you guys know I've been working with young kids and Boy Scouts for pretty darn near 30 years, and I'm only 43, but anyway. So, but 25 years as a Scoutmaster. And one of the things that has come to pass just recently is a lot of these kids who play video games, which I have nothing against them playing video games, but they think that fishing is just like a video game. If I do A, I will always get B. But it's not that way. It's one of the biggest things. That's what I love about it. I'm a hunter. Grew up deer hunting, shot over 180 deer in my life. I love to hunt, and I don't hunt out of a tree stand. I walk on the ground and shoot in thick woods. I've shot them 5 yards away. I mean, it's just, I love to sneak up on deer. But my love for fishing is I'm still a hunter. I live for that bite. Once that bite happens, I just want to get the fish in for a picture. You know, hey, I'll make you famous, you know, that kind of stuff. But I live for the bite, because once I get a bite and I know it's a bass, I have accomplished what I wanted to do that day. I found the fish. Now I got to figure out how I do it, how I duplicate that bite over and over. But it is so key to be really good at finding fish before you get really good at catching. You know, and that was the change in my whole career. That's when I realized that I am no longer just a bank angler or whatever. When I made that decision to completely spend 2 years focusing on finding fish instead of how to catch them, that's when my whole life turned around and I got really good at where I could go out and I could catch a fish, like yesterday, one fish during a period of time of each day I went out fishing. You know, and then it went to, I want to see if I can catch 10 pounds of fish a day. Now when I'm cutting, I'm looking for 90 inches a day. This tag's all measurement now, but anyway. So it's, focus on finding, focus on looking for life and looking for bass, or looking for life, looking for what the bass eat, looking for the cover. Getting away from dock fishing again. When you're choosing lures and tackle and stuff like that, I'm not I don't think, is this what the bass wants to eat? Not at first. I think how can I most effectively and most efficiently fish that spot that I want to cast to? You know, I'm not gonna throw a square bill crankbait in the grass. Ain't gonna happen. What lure can I fish a deep ledge more effectively? I'm not gonna throw a topwater unless I'm on Clark Hill catching them in 124 foot of water, which I've done. Anyway, so it's pick your lures and pick your colors according to the water clarity, and then pick your lures according to situation, what you have to fish in there and what you have to fish most effectively. And once you start getting bites, you can tune in on what kind of a mood those fish are in. And some guns are moody. Spend a season fishing spawn and see how moody each pair is and how they're a lot different. Each bass is different. They like things differently, but they'll get in pissy moods and they'll get in really good feeding moods. Do they want it on the bottom? Do they want it moving? Do they want it jerk? Do they want it crazy? You know, and that's when you start tuning in and trying to figure out exactly what it is. But you have to have that first bite first. You have to be able to find it. So that's so critical. I can't get 100,000. Yep. Any questions?
Yeah, I guess time Q&A type thing.
Yeah, is Justin run off?
Justin.
J-Dog.
Before, what I'd like to do, so obviously we got a little construction going on here, and I'm sure some of you have heard we're opening up a tackle store. So Justin's spearheading that effort along with Dan O'Sullivan, and I just want to give him a second, and you guys ask questions about, I mean, he's the expert. They've already put in a whole bunch of orders, and also, what do you guys want? What are you looking for? What would be helpful? What do we need to get in here, and how can we serve you guys?
From what I understand, it's gonna be a tackle store that's for local anglers. It's gonna have what you guys.
All right. What we've got to do is set out to put all the tackle up there that you are going to need fishing local. So Gunners, Neely, Logan, Weiss, a little bit of Smith stuff, the basics. You know, we're gonna have a big variety of the normal stuff. We've got Strike King, Spro, Gamakatsu, Trofar, Netbait, Missile, Reaction, Z-Man stuff. What else do we have? We're gonna do a small selection of Zoom stuff. You know, their big products, the Trick Worm, the Fluke, stuff like that. We're not gonna be a dedicated Zoom dealer because you got to order so much product. We don't have a big enough room to be a Zoom dealer. But what we're gonna do is try to keep the stuff in stock that's most popular. So we're not gonna be like the Academy where you go and they've got 48 empty pegs, and that's the 48 things you wanted to buy today. You know, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna keep everything in stock as best we can. If you have something that you want to special order, we're gonna do special orders every Wednesday. So if you come in, you know, Monday, Tuesday, you want to special order something. We hadn't really figured out quantity level for a special yet, but it may be where if you want like this crankbait, you have to order 4 to get the special order price or whatever. We haven't got all that stuff nailed down yet, but we are going to do special orders Wednesday to Wednesday. So if you order it today, you know, we place the order Wednesday, you get it hopefully by the following Wednesday. Just depending on where it's coming from, all that kind of stuff. I know I'm leaving out a couple brands.
It'll be air conditioned.
It will be air conditioned. We're going to do Seaguard, fluorocarbon, Berkeley, monofilament, and braid. Also do Seaguard braid. Do Jean LaRue. With Jean LaRue, we also get Bobby Garland crappie stuff.
Good stuff.
It is good stuff.
Anybody can crack this?
That's what I eat.
Tungsten. We've I hate buying tungsten. I love fishing tungsten. I hate buying tungsten. So one thing that we wanted to do is we're a dedicated Strike King dealer. We can get tungsten from Strike King. Little packs of tungsten is still high. Even if we sell it and don't make anything on it, it's still high. So we didn't order tungsten from Strike King. So we went through a couple other suppliers. We couldn't get the pricing like we wanted it. So what we decided to do is order straight from a manufacturer. We're going to sell tungsten bulk. So we'll be $1.50 to $2 cheaper per pack of tungsten than anywhere else you can get it. We're also going to do the way it's going to work is, we'll have a set price for 3/16 green pumpkin bullet. We'll have a set price for 1.25 ounce bullet. It'll be a set price, but you can grab what you want. You pay by the piece.
Gonna have any live bait?
We're talking about worms, probably not minnows or anything like that. There's just so much that goes into those. And with us being closed, like right now we're closed half a day Saturday, Sunday, and all day Monday. There's not gonna be anybody here to manage those and take care of those. So we're probably not gonna get into that. Worms that we can throw in a cooler, yeah, probably. But we're really gonna try to stick to the bass fishing demographic of just artificial.
When y'all gonna open?
We're shooting for by the end of September. Is what we're shooting for. We still got some construction going on. We've already got tackle coming in. We've got 2 or 3 shipments already in. But we can't start hanging the stuff till we get the air conditioning in, so the stuff's not melting on the pegs up there because it's like an oven. So we've got some final trim, stuff like that to do up there, and then we'll start hanging plastic to get stuff like that.
So, one of the best things I ever did about Thunk pulled $20 out of every paycheck for 4 years straight. And I bought Thunk with that $20 for 4 years straight and just stockpiled it. And it sucks, it really does. But I just budgeted it, whether I needed it or not. I went to freaking tack for a dick.
So that's kind of what we're trying to get away from. The fact that tungsten is the most expensive thing in your boat, and it is. So if we can save y'all some money on tungsten, we want to, because we're trying to make this your destination in Gadsden to come by that. We don't really have anything. We have Academy, and we got a little bait shop at Coosa Landing, and up there, and you got some crappie jigs and a pack of fish too. And I love those guys. Those guys are customers for us. But we're trying to make it everything that we would want in a tackle shop, and we are more than open to input. So if y'all want something that we don't have after we get open, just let us know. And if we get a big enough demand for it, we'll put it up there.
Who's gonna be running?
Right now, the person that's gonna be full time is the lady that does all our online sales and stuff. We're moving her up there full time. And we went back and forth on trying to decide if we wanted to get a dedicated person up there that knew more about tackle than anything else. And tackle's pretty easy to sell. You walk in, you know what you want, you grab it, you put it on the counter, you check out. But if it's something that you need a little input on, you want to order something special, we got to look it up. There's plenty of us here to go ahead and look it up and find it. See what you want.
I was just thinking having like 4 or 5 chairs up there so we can hang out.
Yeah.
Cooler and rod.
Yeah, we're doing rods and reels. We're already a giant luge dealer, even before we started playing with the tackle deal. So we do luge rods, reels, Daiwa rods and reels, and as well as we're talking about bringing in Duckett, because it's a local brand that everybody here wants.
What about Cameron?
You're the second person that's brought up hammer. Right now, what we're trying to figure out is how much space we're going to have for rod racks and stuff like that, and see what we need to do. Because luge and Daiwa are set, but third is not really set. So we're trying to come up with something there and see how much room we have once we get there this place. They are.
Everybody.
Everybody's on the same shop.
Everybody made China.
There's one plant in China that makes fishing rods.
And reels.
And reels.
You gotta go to Korea.
Bottom movies, I promise you, it's a job.
That's what we have to deal with.
Okay. And if you get a rod custom wrapped, it was wrapped in America, but it was made in China.
Here in America, down
All their blankets were made in China.
you better run for that.
Somebody in the States.
Hey, real quick, Brian, your battery's about to die. So if you want to sign off to your YouTube audience, we have about 15 or 20 watching the whole time. So.
All right, cool. Thanks y'all for watching this. Just stay tuned for the next video. That's cool.
Yeah, nobody will watch that one.
Yeah, they're not gonna watch an hour. If they did, that's really boring. Y'all want to